What about you? You're very welcome. It's exciting times. It's exciting times. It's the US election. Oh, say what you see by the dawn's early light. What so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming. I have no idea what that means. Who knows what that means? I don't think they know what it means, but I thought I'd give it a wee rendition because if the Donald wins, there's every chance that'll get changed right away. Nice. So, and I was thinking about this. This is the one, possibly only opportunity that we here in Northern Ireland get the opportunity to feel superior about our politicians. For while our crowd are a bunch of inbred, mouth-breathing idiots, compared to the likes of Donald Trump, they appear like geniuses. Now, the romantic idea in the USA has always been that any American could become president. And that remains true, so long as that person is able to raise around $5 billion. We know this as the campaign costs for the 2020 election amounted to $11 billion. And most predict that will now raise with this election. Now, a man who's no stranger to spending other people's money is ex-President Donald Trump. Born with a diamond spoon in his mouth, he was left $413 million by his late father. And while Trump has always promoted himself as the great deal maker, in reality, if he'd just taken that money and put it in a Northern savings account in a bank, he would have more today than he actually has. But Donald's ego was never going to allow him to do that. No. Instead, he built his gaudy golden skyscraper, Trump Tower, in Manhattan. And he's never filed for bankruptcy himself. Have to be fair about this. Donald's never been bankrupt himself. He has owned six businesses which have gone bankrupt between 1991 and 2009. One of them was even a casino. How can you bankrupt yourself with a casino? People are giving you money. Now, when the Donald came down his golden escalator, right, in Trump Tower on June the 16th, 2015, to announce to the world that his intention to run for the presidency of the United States. Now, for most people, it was a bit of a joke. It appeared like a bit of a Donald was at his work. Indeed, one theory at the time was his presidential run was a publicity stunt for his television show, The Apprentice USA, which was beginning to fall in ratings at that time. I can almost believe this because when he won the presidency, the look on his face was one of stunned disbelief. Indeed, many White House insiders said for the first few months he was in office, he was walking about in a daze. I, however, have my own wee theory, and it's based on the ego and narcissism of the man. And it dates back to 2011, when Trump was fanning the flames of what became known as the birther movement, which questioned the nationality of President Barack Obama. And demanded that he show his birth certificate to prove he'd been born in America and not in Africa. Now, on April the 30th of that year, Trump attended the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Now, this has traditionally always been an occasion when the sitting president has an opportunity to hit back at his detractors in the press using comedy. And in that spirit, Obama took aim at Trump, who'd spent the previous months trying to undermine his presidency. Now, here's a short clip from what Obama said that night at the dinner, and I want you to pay close attention to Trump as he physically squirms in torture at Obama's public humiliation.
Someone should get to the bottom of that, and I know just the guy to do it. Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, no, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night. Well handled, sir. Well handled. Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
Now, for a narcissistic sociopath such as Trump, this, I believe, was the moment he decided he'd get revenge on all those sitting around him mocking him. Like, this was the equivalent of the shower scene in the Stephen King Carrie horror movie. Only with Trump, his revenge would take the shape of the destruction of not only the Democratic Party, but also the Republican Party he would usurp and come to dominate. Like, Trump once boasted that he could stand on Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and he'd still get elected. And that's proved to be true. Today, he's fighting for the highest elected office in the land, whilst a convicted felon who's undergoing investigation as a sexual predator. He knows his only chance of escape from justice is winning the presidency. Now, to most rational people, it is astounding that only a matter of days from the election, the margin between him and Kamala Harris remains so close, with nobody willing to make a call. Now, I'd argue Trump's success is due to his what I'd call Disneyfication of American politics, as I've demonstrated with my little Trump dummy up there. And he just loves Mickey Mouse, doesn't he? He just loves Mickey Mouse. Indeed, so much fear now stalks the corridors of power in the USA that for the first time in decades, the Washington Post refused to endorse Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. That's not surprising, as the paper was purchased by Amazon owner Jeff Bezos, who, like fellow multi-billionaire Elon Musk, are terrified of crossing Trump, who makes no secret of his intention to get back at his enemies once he's in the White House. Now, Musk's toadying support of Trump is based on his fear of losing out on massive governmental subsidies needed for him to continue his pet rocket hobby. Musk has even gone so far as to hand out $1 million checks to promote Republican voters to register in election swing states. But even $1 million checks or millions spent on canvassing and focus groups can be undermined by one wrong word or trip up by a candidate. Seemingly small mistakes can prove catastrophic and destroy a presidential campaign in a second. You need only look back to the disastrous debate between Trump and Biden for proof of that reality. Not that Biden's debate disaster was the first time a presidential hopeful came a cropper in front of the television cameras. The first ever televised presidential debate, which took place between Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy in 1960, was another example of the destructive power of a bad debate performance. Now, many historians argue that debate was a tipping point which helped put Kennedy in the White House. To give you some context, Nixon had been ill for a number of weeks before the event and came to the debate having lost weight and looking both pale and fatigued. Yet when he was offered makeup, he refused, thinking to wear makeup would be in some way effeminate. Kennedy had no such qualms, plus was already the picture of health with a deep suntan. Of course, no subsequent presidential candidate has embraced makeup as thoroughly as the Donald. Now back to the Kennedy and Nixon race. Now, realizing the importance of image, JFK had already got one over on Nixon by refusing to wear an overcoat during the campaign, even though it took place during a particularly bitter cold winter. Now, Nixon, of course, had always worn the overcoats, but JFK was sauntering around just in a suit and tie. What nobody knew was he was also wearing a full thermal bodysuit underneath his suit. Now, to give you here's a short clip of the historic debate where Kennedy looks the image of youth and health, while Nixon appears both nervous and ill, with beads of sweat on his forehead and upper lip due to his decision not to wear makeup.
In 1933, Franklin Roosevelt said in his inaugural that this generation of Americans has a rendezvous with destiny. I think our generation of Americans has the same rendezvous. The question now is, can freedom be maintained under the most severe attack it has ever known? I think it can be. And I think in the final analysis, it depends upon what we do here. I think it's time America started moving again.
And now the opening statement by Vice President Richard M. Nixon.
I costed out the cost of the Democratic platform. It runs a minimum of $13.2 billion a year more than we are presently spending, to a maximum of $18 billion a year more than we're presently spending. Now, the Republican platform will cost more, too. It will cost a minimum of $4 billion a year more, a maximum of $4.9 billion a year more than we're presently spending.
What's interesting is that after the debate, the people who were canvassed, well, those who had watched it on television, well, they said that Kennedy just ran away with it. But the people who listened to it on the radio, well, they thought that Nixon had come out ahead. The eventual result was one of the closest in the history, with Kennedy winning 49.7% of the vote to Nixon's 49.55%. But aside from the television debate, there was the small issue of JFK's dad, Joe, who it's rumoured pulled in favours from the mafia to get his son over the line. This was the same mafia who were understandably miffed when Joe's other son, Robert Kennedy, once appointed Attorney General by his brother, well, he initiated a campaign against him. Some have even suggested that this may have resulted in the subsequent assassination of both JFK and his brother Robert, but that's a rabbit hole I have neither the time nor intention to drop into right now. And while some voyeurs have always obsessed on the private lives of the Kennedy brothers, nobody can destroy their political legacy. JFK faced down Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Robert Kennedy spent years in the Senate working for the poor and disadvantaged. Indeed, as a senator, Robert was unwilling to rely on reports, preferring to go and see conditions on the ground for the poor and dispossessed within America in the 1960s. He visited slums from Harlem in New York to the Appalachian Hills. Indeed, arriving home after one such trip, rather demoralized and tired, he uncharacteristically, sitting at the Kennedy dinner table, banged his fist off the table and admonished all his children gathered round that they should spend their lives trying to alleviate such suffering. That his son and namesake, Robert Kennedy Jr., recently ended his own run for the presidency and threw his support behind the Trump campaign beggars belief and only adds to the surreal nature of this campaign. Also surreal was the fact that a sitting president in the shape of Joe Biden was forced from running for a second term due to his age. Now, I highlighted Joe Biden's difficulties during my tour last year when I said this. Now, again, a language warning, as this is uncensored stand-up. So, we're in political miasma, nothing happening. And one of the biggest events had to be the visit of Joe Biden. The Irish boy came home. Joe came home, right? And there's eternal credit, because you know every MLA here was buying the new suit. They were getting their hair done for the picture with Joe. And Joe went, get the fuck, right? And he went down, he opened the university. But as Joe got off the plane, here, you think of the number of politicians we have here, political commentators, journalists, and academics. Who do you think Channel 4 News asked on to comment about the visit of the president? Fucking me! Fuck. Somebody fucked up the phone number somewhere. Oh, I'll do it. Oh, fucking right, I'll do it, no problem. That's a wee girl called Margaret Gibney. Me and her went down, lovely woman. So we went down to the Titanic Centre. This never phases me. Any of this stuff never phases me. I'll explain why that is later on. But I'm very nervous. So what I think was going to happen was be a segment. What to do, they film a segment, and then they send it over to London, and then they edit it up, and then they put it out on the Channel 4 News at 7 o'clock. I arrived down, right? And Matt Fry goes to me, you do know, Jake, you do know this is going out live tonight. Ah, fuck. In my head's going, don't say fuck, don't say fuck, don't say fuck, don't say fuck. Don't call anybody a wanker, don't call anybody a wanker, don't call. I was very good, I was very good. The only way I pushed it a wee bit, the only thing I said was, I hoped they didn't make old Joe jog when he was over here. Joe's 81 years old. They make Joe jog everywhere. This is some mad dog political strategist way back who decided Joe's too old, we have to make him look virile. So they make him jog, 81. And I found the first ever clip of this mad dog shite. It was when he was vice president under Obama, and this is the first time Joe done the jogging, right? Now, when you watch this short clip, I want you to notice how many cuts there are in this clip. Because every time there's a cut, Joe's getting fucking oxygen. Do you understand? So here we go.
President, ready to move? Absolutely. Let's do this then. Let's move.
Cut. 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 Two dogs going, what the fuck is he doing? Cut. 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 All he does is run out, down a corridor, goes round, goes outside, goes back up the outside of the same corridor, and virile. And he does it. They say to Joe, jump. This one I love, because usually they measure it out, right? Somebody fucked up here. Somebody didn't measure it out, right? Because Joe's doing the running to the lectern shite, but they put too long a distance in. And you can actually see Joe here lose his shit right at the end, okay? Because here he goes, yep, there you go. Hi. It should be stopping now. I should be stopping now. Oh, fuck. Run, you bastard, run. Mad dog shite. I don't want a man who can run. I want a man who can think. Do you understand? And was always going to end badly. Do you know what I mean? Like, they do tricks in old Joe. They put escalators on Air Force One and didn't fucking tell him. They put extra steps in when he's and they don't fucking fuck. This one I love. The president's on a bike. How virile. Oh my God, the president looks so virile. Look how virile. Oh, for fuck's sake.
2, 10, 12, 15. Oops, stepping on him. That's black. Anyway.
All I said was I didn't want Joe jogging when he was over here, because the grass is still wet here when he was over here. We've had the grassy knoll in Dallas. I don't want the fucking grassy banks of Belfast. So, Joe. For what? Hundreds of millions will have been spent on advertising, canvassing, and focus groups. As with all such presidential campaigns, the one thing that the pundits and political operatives can't control is an unintended political gaffe and the impact that can have on the outcome of the election. One such was when little-known comic, for very good reason, a guy called Tony Hinchcliffe, was booked to do warm-up at Trump's rally in Madison Square Garden in New York. He came off with this joke.
You know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. It's
Now,
absolutely.
the problem this posed for Trump is he needed to win the Latino vote to have any chance of getting back into the White House. And this lame joke could and should have scuppered that possibility. Luckily for Trump, salvation came in the shape of lame duck President Biden, who decided to take to the internet just as Kamala Harris was outside his front window on one of her final campaign stops. Commenting on the Puerto Rico joke, old Joe said
Puerto
this.
Rico?
Joe Biden has now weighed in.
All right.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
The president.
Now, whatever member of the White House staff who'd been tasked to turn off Joe's devices most definitely dropped the ball. The Donald was incensed. He went all out to capitalise, even going so far as to don a bin man's uniform and drive a dump truck. In fact, he almost failed. Getting into the thing wasn't a good look, but the Donald was clear. How dare Biden call his supporters garbage? I mean, you'd never hear the Donald use such incendiary language.
And it's not her, it's the people that surround her. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage.
So who knows, maybe two gaffes will cancel each other out and return us to one of the closest and most consequential presidential contests for 100 years.
I know. There's no need for that. Hey, there was no need for that, there was no need for that.